Welcome to the Wild Type Podcast. I'm Lyssa Lizards.
I'm Neptune the Chameleon.
And we're your Reptile girlies. This one's for the wild type of girls. Happy early Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I know. So do you have any big plans?
No.
I don't either. It's okay.
No.
And I have a whole husband, so.
No big plans, but I did feel festive. This is the most pink shirt that I own.
I wouldn't even call that pink.
It's not red.
It's like a maroon.
Yeah.
Maroon purple. Honestly, it's about the same color as
just like a
my
light
shirt.
wash.
Yeah. I love that shirt though.
Yeah.
Very
it's not
cute.
black, so we're branching out. Or a chameleon shirt. So
We have been wearing a lot of black, but
I love wearing black though.
I do too.
It's a staple in my closet.
oh, I'm an all black girl for sure.
When in doubt.
Yes. No, I love wearing black.
Pair of dark jeans, black top.
Oh, absolutely.
I know you like your combat boots, but I'm like a Vans girly. So then
You
I throw
are
on my
a Vans girly.
my black Vans, and I'm a happy camper. That's all I need in life.
I'm combat boots through and through forever.
If you guys don't know this, but when we go to Reptile Expos, you always rock your snake print.
Oh, they're my favorite.
Combat boots.
They're the best.
Those are sick. I remember
They're
the day you
amazing.
got them, and I was like, oh yeah.
I don't even remember where I got them, but it was somewhere random. I think it was like Nordstrom Rack or something.
okay.
But I loved it.
A little golden egg.
Yes.
That find. Yeah.
But anywhoozle, we hope you guys have wonderful Valentine's Day plans
whether you
or
have
something
plans
coming up.
or not, you know.
Or Galentine's Day plans, which honestly is significantly more fun in my opinion.
Yes, and I know we have plans to dive deeper into this episode
Yes.
on the nitty-gritties of
Valentine's.
Galentines, the whole shebang. So
Yeah.
I'll save my 2 cents for when we talk about that.
That's fair. Well, today, our main topic, we are going to be talking all about pet sitting and what
Yes.
that looks like.
Yes, we got a couple of questions from you guys
Yeah.
in regards to like how to find a pet sitter, I think most importantly, but I think we can also just kind of give some tips on like
Yeah.
going out of town with your reptiles.
And like the process and what that looks like and how
Yeah.
do you prep a pet sitter? What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah.
So I think it's an important
them through
topic.
boot camp.
Yeah, because when you have in our case, when you have multiple pets or multiple
Yeah.
reptiles or just reptiles in general, it's a lot harder than finding a dog or cat sitter.
Yeah.
It's a completely different ballgame.
And way harder than finding like a bunny sitter, right? Or a
Yes.
gerbil hamster
Yes.
sitter, right? If you want to think out of the box, like, but to have someone do exotics. And I know I think it's becoming more common to do like boarding where you can
Yes.
like take your reptiles to
But
a pet shop and stuff.
Which I've done. I did that with Barney back in the day when I only had, a couple of reptiles. But when you have as many as we do, like you can't.
When you have more than 10,
Yeah.
excuse me, you're going to put everyone
No.
in a single little box and
Absolutely
then drive
not.
them across town and have them be boarded?
No,
Like,
I actually have a very, very funny story about when I boarded Barney.
I've never boarded any of my guys, so I'm intrigued by this.
I only did Barney, and it was because he was still young. He was like 6-ish months, I think.
Okay.
And maybe not 6 months, maybe closer to a year, but he was young enough that he was still eating a lot. He needed more daily care. And so I had a friend check on Charlie, who I had at the time.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to board Barney because I was going to be gone for a little over a week. And so I basically put him, and I was living with a roommate at this time, and this roommate, love her, but she was afraid of reptiles. And so
couldn't count on her.
Couldn't count on her, but I forget what was going on. I think his enclosure wouldn't fit in my car or something.
Those things are big chameleon enclosures.
Yeah.
I've tried to fit one in my hatchback, and it barely fits.
Yeah, this would not fit in my tiny little
you have the
little
sedan.
car.
Yeah.
And so I had to, she had to drive me to the reptile shop. And again, reminder, she was afraid of reptiles. And
welcome to your worst nightmare.
Yes. And this was like literally in my early days of reptile keeping, like the earliest. I didn't even know you yet, early days. So I didn't know what kind of like transportation to like get him there. Like I was such a newbie that I had no idea. So I put him in a cardboard box with like branches and whatnot.
Okay, that's what I would have recommended.
Totally. I thought that he couldn't get out. He got out and starts climbing over the seat.
Do you know that same thing happened to me the day I brought Neptune home?
I didn't know that.
So I had him in a box because, you didn't exist yet. We weren't friends.
Yeah.
This was pre-you.
Yeah.
And he was in my passenger seat, and I had a stick, and he climbed up my, seat. And like, he was like a nugget, right?
Yeah,
like tiny, and scared us all get out. And then like, I couldn't get him because he was like freaking out. And granted, I'm a brand new chameleon owner, right? I don't know what I'm doing at all. I've owned this thing for all of 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So I just gave him a little boop. And then like he went back into to catch him in his box because I wasn't going to handle him.
Yeah.
But he also, because I didn't close it.
Yeah. Dumb move
and
on
so
my
then
part. Yeah.
He climbed out. So Barney climbed out too.
Climbed out, starts going on like the shoulder of the car seat, the front seat. And so I see him. She's driving. She turns around and starts freaking out because it was a nightmare. So I have never boarded any of mine ever again after that.
Was the boarding experience though? Like
the boarding was fine. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. The only annoying thing was that I had to bring his enclosure. They didn't have like a boarding setup. So
I just get nervous because like there's other people's reptiles and like
honestly,
maybe I'm just a little germaphobe.
No. But honestly, I didn't even think about that because that's how new I was to the hobby back then.
You also probably didn't feel like you had other options, right?
I literally didn't. I had no other option.
Yeah, so you do what you gotta do. Yeah, I just get nervous because like while you take really good care of yours doesn't mean everyone else is or they're not carrying something that's getting passed to your reptile. And then quantity, like you were saying, if you have a bunch, then that's just not even not even
There's
realistic, not even from a cost standpoint, just sheerly transportation and logistics of trying to get them.
What am I supposed to do with all, dozen of mine? Just like put them in tubs and be like, good luck, hope you like what? Yeah.
No. And to like the animals themselves, like Barney was such a chill little guy, so like no sweat off his back. No. But like other reptiles that you have like are not going to handle the transportation, a new environment, getting acclimated to a new enclosure, new people.
Bad situation all around.
Neptune would explode.
He would lose his
just
mind.
combust.
No, absolutely
would not.
Yeah,
Poof,
gone.
He's like, I'm out. You cannot handle this.
Oh gosh, that poor Neptune. He's just a ball of stress.
Yeah, and we love him, but.
Well, so basically after that experience, I started realizing, okay, I need an real
actual
pet sitter.
Person to come and check on them.
But at the time, again, this was pre our friendship.
Wait, and we keep saying that because current day, we are each other's pet sitter.
That's a big, important thing. We pet sit for each other.
That's why it's like nowadays when people ask us like, oh, what do you do for, I'm like, she comes over. Yeah. I come over. Like, it's
perfect.
And we've been doing that for years, right? So like.
At least, I mean, but pretty much the whole friendship, honestly, that like started out real quick. And now I can kind of like train my husband too, to kind of like pick up on some of the basic stuff if I'm not there. But like if he and I are both gone, you're my main one.
Head.
What?
Do you remember? So this is when I just had Neptune and Pluto. Okay. I brought Neptune in an enclosure to your apartment. And then I brought Pluto in his enclosure.
Yes.
I
forgot about this.
We didn't used to live as close as we did, and Neptune and Pluto were younger, so they were eating, to your point, more frequently. So it was and we weren't super solid in our friendship yet. Like we were friends, but like not.
We were still new friends.
Yeah. Like, so to the point where I'm not going to ask you to drive 30 minutes one way 4 times a week to like come check on them.
I was very appreciative of.
Yeah. So what I did was I got a smaller temporary enclosure for Neptune.
Where did you get that enclosure?
Like Facebook Marketplace.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do we
want to go? We were going on such a tangent with this.
It was awful.
But this story is too good. Okay, so we're going to rewind real quick, and we're going to have to remember where we were at before we come back to this. Yes. So I knew I was going to bring Neptune to your place, and I was not going to bring his like 4 foot tall with my Miss King all set up, like plugged in, everything.
You could have, but it would have been a huge pain to undo all of that at your place.
Especially for only he was saying like a week. Yeah. If you were going to have him for a couple months or something, that's a different story. So I was like, okay, well, let me just find like a smaller temporary. It was like an 1836. Like it wasn't tiny by any means.
Not ideal size, but like,
no, but like I was like for a week. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fine.
And it was just like this like screen enclosure, nothing crazy. So I found this steal of a deal on like Facebook Marketplace And the circumstances end up being this person used to have a ton of reptiles. They ended up passing away.
Yes,
and
I forgot about this.
Yes.
Wow.
And then whoever it was, like their like kid or their niece or their cousin or some family member was like in charge of rehoming all these pets and all the enclosures and just like miscellaneous supplies. I get to this house, there's like 50 enclosures in the backyard. Like they were outdoor keeping.
Wow.
Like who knows what, right? Well, we know what.
Yeah.
But so I get this enclosure and like I like scrub it down.
Yeah.
Like
you like cleaned it and everything.
Yeah, which is why I'm so confused how this happened in the first place.
I don't know.
So anyways, I get this enclosure temporarily all set up, bring Neptune over. I leave him with you, which is the first time
you've left him.
I'm leaving him with you, right? Which is like
this was like if this didn't go well, the friendship probably wouldn't exist now.
So I am like a little nervous, right? But I'm like, I trust you, so like this will be fine. So I leave him. I'm driving. Now I'm gonna pass it over to you because what happened after I left?
It was so soon after you left too. It
Yeah,
was within like an hour, like maybe within 30
home.
minutes.
Yeah.
So I am like looking in the enclosure and I just kind of like see something like sticking out from under some of the like foliage, some of the leaves that are in there. And I just like go and I kind of like move it around and I freak out because it is unfortunately a little tiny Jackson's chameleon that it was passed away in that enclosure. Yeah. And it was like dried out, like dehydrated, like it was gone, long gone, like months gone. Almost, it almost looked like mummified. It
like
was
petrified
like,
or whatever it's called.
It was horrific. So I freak out, rightfully so. And I pull that out and immediately was like, where is Neptune? Obviously this isn't Neptune, but
he's got horns on it. It's a Jackson's chameleon.
I knew that it wasn't Neptune, but it still was panic, like find the chameleon.
Yeah. The one that's alive.
Yes. And so I immediately take that out and put it on like a paper towel and take a picture of it and send it to you. And I was like, what? Look at what I just found. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And you freak out because you see the little preview of the text message and it's like a dead chameleon.
All caps, whatever it was that you wrote. What I said. And then this little tiny thumbnail, tiny picture, and it looks like a dead chameleon. And I'm like, what just happened?
From the preview, she had a little bit of a panic attack. Yeah. She was like, Neptune, what? And then realized it obviously wasn't him.
But then I'm also like, where did this chameleon come from? So the memory is coming back to me. This enclosure came with like vines and like fake plants and stuff already in it. I was like, oh, cool. I'll just scrub all this with like soap water, bleach, the works. Yeah. And then I'll just use that. You
literally cleaned it out and somehow that was like hiding in a corner.
But I didn't take things out of it. Like the enclosure was never to the point where it's empty. Right. I just scrubbed everything that was already like, because it was all attached.
I completely
so I wasn't
going
to like detach it and then reattach it.
Yeah, no.
Man, that was wild.
That was a like mini traumatic moment for you because you were very.
It was the first time we like pet sat for me. But yeah, from that point on though, Neptune got older, right? Yeah. So then I was like, it was easier hey, can you just come like once a week and
once or twice
whatever.
A week, yeah.
And that probably will be a good segue into what would be my very first tip for anyone looking for a pet sitter is to automate as much as possible.
Yes.
Because if you're manually having to turn your lights on and off, manually misting or fogging or whatever it is you're doing for your reptile, like take that off the plate of your pet sitter because assuming that you have slightly older reptiles, they're probably not eating daily. So then your pet sitter doesn't have to come all the time. Like I'm usually comfortable like 3 or 4 days.
Yes.
To leaving them alone.
It's usually like about 3 to 4 days max. And and it's great because when I go on like weekend trips or something, if I leave on a Friday and come back on a Sunday, there is no need for somebody to check in. Yeah. I have cameras on all of them. I have everything's automated. And from my cameras, if there's a light bulb out or if the misting system isn't going off or like something weird is happening, I can see that and call you.
No, that's happened like, where I had one of the heat bulbs went out and I was like, hey, Neptune's heat bulb's out. And you're like, on my way.
I just swapped it out.
Because I have spares, on hand and stuff. So automate as much as possible.
Automate. And you just gave another good tip that is, in my opinion, kind of in the same category as automate. Having spares. Yeah. Have spare light bulbs set out.
Yep.
Like that's all
spare bugs. The whole shebang. Yeah. Because if you automate stuff, then that makes it a lot easier. And it's one less thing for your pet sitter to have to like stress about.
Well, and I know there are a lot of people, because my mentality is very much like, why wouldn't you automate? Because
just in general,
it's easier on me too.
Just in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. It's so for me personally, I always automate everything, but I do know that there are people out there who like to manually turn things on or do those things because it's just, it's routine. It's something to do.
You're involved in the day-to-day.
So I totally get that. But for your pet sitters and for your sanity when you're on vacation, that's just one less thing that they have to check off the list.
Don't try and automate like right before you leave. Like try and get that stuff set up beforehand.
Get it figured out
so
in
then
advance.
You feel confident that you can trust the technology.
Exactly.
Like whether you're using a smart plug or an outlet timer or set up a Miss King, do not underestimate how long it takes you to set up a Miss King.
It takes a long time.
Especially if you have multiple enclosures like someone over here. So,
Me.
So give yourself some time
absolutely. My second tip would be like essentially to have like a little station that has all the food, all the bugs, all the accessories, all the spare heat bulbs.
Like while you may have it in little like containers or storage areas, like pull it out.
Yes.
Don't make your pet sitter have to go and find where things are. Just lay it out for them so it's super easy.
Out, label it. And I personally put together, usually, it depends. Now we've got it down pretty good with us.
Don't worry about us. But if you're doing it for the first time, how would you do it?
So I have a great example. So back in the day, again, pre our friendship, I would have my other friends, some of my non-reptile keeper friends.
Yeah.
Love you guys dearly so much if you're listening. But I essentially gave the job to one of my best guy friends and then one of my best girlfriends.
Yeah.
And these people are like my people. They would do anything for me.
Guys.
They're incredible. Like love these friends. And they're not big fans of bugs. They think the reptiles are cool, but like they're not reptile people.
Yeah.
So it was a huge task because it was something that I was like, okay, I'm comfortable leaving them kind of, but I'm also like freaked out because love you guys, but like you're not reptile people, so you don't quite get the nuance.
At the minimum, it has to be someone you trust.
Yes.
It has to be someone who's reliable because I've heard of instances where people's pet sitters just didn't show up. And then they come back and their reptile skinny because they just weren't eating, or someone who just like didn't care. Right? Like didn't bother listening to the instructions. So at the minimum, they do not have to have reptile experience, but they do have to be someone you trust.
And respect.
Yes.
Yes. And they respect these animals'
So
lives.
while your friends did not have any reptile experience, you 100% trusted them.
Absolutely.
And they had so much respect and care for your animals. And that is what you're looking for.
Yes, exactly. But because they weren't reptile people and they don't know all these things, they don't know that you have to...
It's a foreign language.
Yeah, you don't know that they have to sprinkle with calcium and do these things and how much calcium is too much.
A sprinkle is up for interpretation.
Exactly.
Are we looking for powdered donuts or are we just looking for a little something on top?
Exactly. So what I would do is I would literally put together a step-by-step list, and I actually printed out care information for each of my animals and taped it to the enclosure with their name, their species, like some of the basics of like the care, and then the diet and exactly how much needed to be fed. And then I even went a step further, and the week leading up to going out of town, I would take a video every time I would feed those animals, and then I literally
like demoing what you need to do.
I pretty much put together a demo video of this is what a sprinkle looks like.
Lyssa's lizards on today's episode.
Exactly. It was a whole process, but it worked, and they had something to reference and they had something to look through. I did have one incident.
Uh-oh.
It was fine. It ended up being fine. But I actually had those two friends tag teaming it because I think one of them was like not available on a certain day.
Schedules and stuff like that. Yeah.
Schedules didn't line up. So I had my guy friend doing it one day and then my best girlfriend doing it on a different day. And so my guy friend, love him so much, but apparently the crickets had died. Some of the crickets that I had left for them had died, which happens. Like, whatever. This sweet boy, he had no idea that reptiles won't eat dead bugs.
Yeah.
And so he calls me after he swings by and like takes care of them. And he's like, so the crickets died, but it's cool. I just dumped them in there anyway, gave him the sprinkle of the calcium, everything. It's so all good, everything. And I was like,
they're not going to eat those.
Sir, that's not good. All is not good. There's just dead crickets sitting in the enclosure that are going to reek when I get home.
No. You're like, I'm going to need you to make a slight detour.
So I think I was just like, go home. Just go home. It's fine. And I called my girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I need you. I was like, please
go buy me crickets. I will Venmo you.
I sent her to PetSmart. I Venmoed her, and I sent her to go get crickets. And she FaceTimes me.
Of course, never forget as friends do.
She FaceTimes me from PetSmart, running through PetSmart with a bag of crickets, and she's literally like, "I would only do this for you." I was like, "Oh my God!"
But you need those friends.
You need those friends that are going to come through, and they always came through. They're amazing, but it was a stressful thing because I was like on a trip to Disney World visiting a friend, I think, and so I was just on the phone like FaceTiming, and I was like, "Thank you, oh my gosh!" Like it was so ridiculous.
Yeah, but no, you go out and make it so
easy for
simple
them.
for them. Yeah. And something I want to talk about is. So the crickets was a perfect example. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, dubia roaches or superworms or something like that would have been longer. A better option to have available to them so that they have a longer shelf life, so then they're not going to die.
This might have been pre me even noting about dubia roaches, to be honest.
Well, for those of you listening, learn
from me. Learn from my stupid mistakes.
So something that's not going to have a long shelf life. Now, alternatively, not everyone's okay with roaches. True. Now, if you have a friend who's pet sitting for you who's going to
roaches,
correct, then you need to find a bug alternative that they will feel comfortable with, even if it's just with feeding tongs. But I know roaches in particular, people will like they can't even muscle up the courage to even use tongs to put them in there. In which case, then maybe crickets are the way to go.
Or other types of worms, black soldier fly larvae, all kinds of stuff.
Your reptile just has a party that day and they just get superworms and waxworms because that is better than them not eating. And then at least your pet sitter can like comfortably I use the word comfortably loosely.
Comfortably, yeah. They might still be uncomfortable. Like my poor girlfriend was like, I hate this. I hate everything about this. And I'm like, thanks for doing it.
Yep. I owe you one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just make it super simple. One thing that you do for me, so you have snakes. I don't have snakes. Right. I don't personally feel comfortable feeding snakes, especially a snake that I don't know.
You don't even know their behavior.
I don't know their body language. I don't know their go-to. Like, is this one going to strike or is this one just going to leave it and then eat it
fair
later?
Yeah.
Like, so you will always make sure to plan your snake feeding days so that they don't overlap with the days that you're going to be out of town.
And almost all of my snakes are at the point where they're eating every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks for my bigger species. And so it's really easy for me to do that pretty much. So I know what dates I'm going out of town. I make sure that I feed them far enough in advance that A, they'll have eaten, B, I'll have seen their poop, so I know that they've like digested and they're all good, because that's another thing that I'm a little OCD about it, and I'm very like, I don't want them to regurgitate or anything. If anything crazy happens, I want to make sure that by the time I've left for vacation, they have fully digested. Yes. So that's important for me.
And then from the pet sitter standpoint, then I don't have to deal with feeding your snakes.
You don't even have to think about it.
It's already enough for me to miss them down. I like, especially Tarzan's enclosure. Okay,
yeah,
I like fair. Depending where he is. If he's in his hide, then I'm like, no problem. I remember
there was one time that you had pet sat for me, and he had pooped in his water.
Yes.
And which always happens. So that was a situation. And that's another reason why with the snakes in particular, I want to make sure that they've pooped before I leave. Yeah. Because if it happens to be in the water, because Tarzan always poops in the water. So I want to make sure that it's clean before I leave and I don't have to worry about it. That was before I had figured that out. I've learned this lesson.
We learned.
But you were there and he was in his poopy water and you were like, I would change it, but I can't change it. And I was like, you're good. Just leave. I'll be home in a day and a half.
I think I just put some fresh water in there and was like, okay, maybe that'll help offset the...
Yeah, that was not a good situation and not something I would ever want to happen in the future, because I don't want him only having poopy water available.
Totally.
But
which is why you now take steps to make sure. But yeah, I will always just like crack open the enclosure and go and like spray him down. And I'm like, okay, goodbye. And close it back up.
No, you do it perfect. It's great. And that's one of the benefits of snakes is that when it comes to pet sitting, you can usually, as long as you're not gone for like a whole month or like 3 weeks or something, you can usually feed them on a schedule that's going to make sense.
Yeah. So just be thoughtful and consider of what your pet sitter is comfortable with. So if that's on the type of bugs or feeding your snake, and if you can be proactive about it, and maybe that means you feed your snake a little bit earlier, whatever it is, like to make sure that your pet sitter feels comfortable. Yeah.
And that you're comfortable that they're going to have clean water, they're going to have clean this, that, all of that. Yeah. So it's for the best for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody involved.
Big thanks to Pangea Reptile for the support of the podcast. They're one of the leading companies for reptile supplies, lizards, and their world-famous gecko food.
They just released their brand new micro feeding dishes made specifically for baby or micro geckos. These smaller dishes can be mounted to smooth surfaces and even branches and will help stop your gecko from getting food all over their enclosure. If you own a gecko, you know exactly how nice it'll be to not have to clean food paw prints everywhere.
Head on over to PangeaReptile.com to check out these new micro dishes along with their other amazing products like their face packs for shipping, chameleon kits, and gecko food. Yes, I would also say there's an education component when it comes to building that relationship with your pet sitter. 2 pieces of it, just general care, so they know, to your point, right? Like, supplements and bugs and like make sure the lights are turned on
and that's also a reason why I prefer when I go out of town, if it's not, if it was somebody else doing it, I would make sure to write the pet's name and the pet species, because worst case scenario, they could potentially like Google or look up like the species if there's a weird question they have or something. Maybe you only
have like 1 or 2 species, right? And you could just send them a care video or a care sheet, right? Have them read it over, and then if nothing else, they have it handy. Right. And then if you're in a place where what if you want a cruise ship or something, right? And you can't get in contact, have like an emergency like person that they could reach out to, or your vet or something. So if they're like, I'm not sure if this is,
I don't know what to do,
normal or not, which reminds me, I am my mom's emergency contact, and she had a crested gecko at one point. Yeah. And I was listed as the gecko emergency contact. I was not the emergency contact for any of her other pets, just her
the
gecko. And I didn't have her number saved. So in hindsight, I should have gotten her number. But this number calls me like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, okay, and I don't know this number, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, if they're calling me like back to back, I'm going to call them back and see what's up. It's my mom's pet sitter freaking out because my mom's crested gecko dropped its tail
oh my God,
with her pet sitter.
Please warn your pet sitters that geckos can drop their tails.
She was freaking out, rightfully so.
Completely fair.
And this girl,
she thinks he's just lost a limb.
Yeah. And she was totally chill and cool with reptiles. I don't know if she had reptile experience, but she definitely didn't know that crested geckos drop their tail.
She thought he basically lost a leg.
My mom would not have even thought to be like, hey, by the way, this is a possibility. So she was freaking out, and she's like, I think I heard him. The whole thing, right?
Oh my gosh, bless her soul.
Right?
Oh, that poor thing. Oh,
and so I had to talk her down and be like, hey,
it's okay.
This is what happens.
It will not grow back, but it will be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be okay.
It'll be fine. And so my mom was like, and she was cool with a little frog butt, so it ended up working out fine. But I was her emergency contact because
you need somebody in those
just in case you couldn't get hold of, couldn't get a hold of you, whatever.
And especially even in my situation where I have multiple species, even if I were to find a pet sitter, obviously not you, if I were to find a different pet sitter who was familiar with reptiles, there's a chance that they're not familiar with every single species that I have. Yeah. So even people who are reptile people may not know exactly what they're dealing with your pets. So
and if you don't have, and I've had people say to me I don't have a family member I trust, I don't have a friend that I trust when it comes to my animals. So in that instance, if you have a local reptile shop,
that's what I was
maybe
gonna say,
one of the employees you could pay to come over,
talk to them. You can, at least the reptile shops that I'm familiar with, you can literally go in. Almost all of the employees will typically chat with you, talk to you, ask you what species you have. You can strike up those conversations and just ask hey, are there any employees that either you or somebody that you work with who would potentially be up for making a little money inside doing?
Or do they have a pet sitter that they use that you could refer to or whatever? So I understand not everyone has family members or friends they trust with their reptiles, honestly, or would prefer someone who has reptile experience.
And if I didn't have you, that's exactly what I would do. I would go to the local reptile shops and I would be like, hey,
Want to make a little extra?
Want a little side gig?
Yeah.
You know? And
something.
just see, because chances are, out of however many employees they have there, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them would potentially be up for that.
Also, maybe one day Rover branches into reptiles.
That'd be cool.
Huh?
That'd be super cool.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah, but I will say, when trying to find pet sitters, it's a little more risky, but don't knock Craigslist. I know that sounds crazy.
I don't know about that.
I have seen very, very legitimate Craigslist ads.
Yeah, I mean, they're not on Rover, so I guess that makes sense. They got to be somewhere.
I have seen ads on Craigslist that look very legit, and they're like pet sitting business, all species, reptiles included, birds included, whatever,
cool.
like all exotics, like, and
that's awesome.
very, very, with very legit photos. Like, obviously there's always a chance of a scam, but
especially
on Craigslist. But it's worth reaching out to some of
them.
Oh,
absolutely,
and seeing if that potentially would be a good option.
Quiz them. Ask them questions.
The ads I've personally seen look very legit.
That's good.
So don't knock that. I think that's, worth looking into if you have no other options.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to say on like the education piece with pet sitters is help educate them on the signs of a sick.
Big time.
A sick animal, like chameleons, for example, closed eyes during the daytime is a big no-no. Now, if I didn't know anything about reptiles and I was checking in on someone's chameleon and I saw them with their eyes closed, my first thought would be they're taking a nap.
Yeah.
I would have no idea
that's a negative sign.
That's a bad thing. Literally not a clue.
Yeah.
And so something as simple as that would be beneficial to educate your pet sitter on.
Absolutely.
And there's so many care resources. Like, don't feel like you have to come up with this yourself. Like, you don't have to like rewrite a book.
What I did before I had you was I would, I put all the labels on each enclosure of like, this is what you need to do for this animal. This is what you need to do for this animal. But then I had a piece of paper that was my like general information or Q&As on it that had some of those things of like, if you see this, call me. If you see this,
what to look out for.
Yeah. And it had just like basic general information of like, make sure all the light bulbs are on, like these and these things. Like, and so I think having just like a general info sheet for your pet sitter is really helpful.
That's good.
Obviously, talk to them in advance too, but having that there physically for them to check through and look through is really helpful.
Yeah, and for any of my chameleon listeners, I have a video, 25 signs of a sick chameleon, and a care guide. Send those to your pet sitter. You will be good. You'll be good to go.
Golden.
But just help teach them the basics, because even if they're not coming over and feeding, maybe you want someone to come over more than 3 and 4 days and just do a wellness check. They can't do a wellness check if they don't know what to look for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or they're in a hide and they're like, okay, seems fine. Well, they could be dead in their hide and not know it, right? You have to like...
That was something that I was like, if you feel comfortable, please lift up every hide and make sure that they're moving, like all those things.
No, when I check on your curs, I get eyes on everyone. I don't care.
That's the whole goal, right?
I don't care if you're in your little burrow or in your hole. I don't care
if you're sleeping and happy under your hide.
No, I need eyeballs on every single one of you. Yep. You do enough times, you like, I know everyone's like,
their hiding spots.
Yeah,
you know them at this point.
Yeah, especially Poke.
She's always in her hide.
Yeah, she's always hiding.
She's got this one hide in like the corner of her spot that it's like just basically a little burrow, and she loves it.
It's her spot. Last time I checked on them, she laid an egg.
Yep, she did. That was crazy because she's only laid eggs. I think that's only the second egg that I've ever seen from her.
And I'm just like spraying her down, changing her food. And I'm like, what's this?
What is going on?
And I look and I'm like, I send you a picture. I'm like, is this an egg?
I was like, it's totally an egg. That's only the second or third one I've ever found.
Yeah, it was kind of like shriveled up. And it was only one. I know they usually lay 2, but like she only had...
And she, obviously, I don't breed them or anything, so it's very much infertile, not an issue. But
yeah, and I was
so
like,
funny.
Hello.
I think I still have that egg. I like washed it off and saved it.
So. Oh yeah, I definitely wasn't going to throw it away. I was like, you can do whatever you want with this.
Here you go. Yeah.
A little souvenir.
You set it on my little tray. I have a little tray that I set out for her with like all the stuff on it. And so it's just sitting there when I got home.
Yeah. So anyways, be proactive. Get your pet sitter lined up beforehand. We would hate for you to not feel comfortable going on vacation or out of town or whatever because you don't feel like you have someone that you can trust. Maybe it is your significant other.
Right.
At one point, I had an ex-boyfriend and he checked on Neptune. Yeah, this was before you were around. And like I know your husband will like check on the critters if you're just gonna like pop out or whatever.
He's so great now. He'll literally like FaceTime, like when we were at Animal Con.
Yes. Oh, yes. Because like, whenever we're both out of town,
that's a problem,
right? Because then it's like, well,
what do we do? So he would check on mine while we were at Animal Con, and he would FaceTime me, or actually he would send me little videos of him going in and like spraying some of the enclosures and doing little things.
When he walked through the door? He was like, "Hello." What did he say?
I think he was like, "Hello, critters," or "Good morning, critters," or something. He like sent me this really cute video, just walking in there, busting the doors open.
Yep.
It's like, thanks, babe.
Yep. So. Anyways, try and find your pet sitter sooner than later. Someone you can trust. Hopefully, this gives you some good. One
little thing that I did also forget to add, in addition to like the Craigslist thing. Yeah. Also check your local Facebook groups.
Oh yeah.
That's a good option. Or even non-local Facebook groups. A post being like, "Hey, does anybody live in this area that would be interested in pet sitting?" Like. Yeah. Utilize the internet.
Yes.
So that was just light bulb real fast.
No,
that's
true. I mean, I found my pet sitter on the internet.
You did. You did. This is true.
So,
but yeah.
But there you go. Some tips. Hopefully that helps. And we're always happy to chat more about pet sitters.
Yeah. It's an important, crucial thing that we all need to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have a pet sitter lined up and have a vet lined up. So
yes.
Cool. Well, I think that's it for our main topic.
Yeah.
So now we are going to go into our Are You the Type?
Something
segment.
Festive for the season.
So, are you the type to go big or small for Valentine's Day?
Yeah. So, I would say I'm like in the middle.
Same.
I have girlfriends who are like anti. They're like, I don't even care. Nothing special. It's any old day. And they like don't want to celebrate whatsoever. And then I have other girlfriends where like it's literally their anniversaries. Like where their boyfriend asked them to be their girlfriend on Valentine's Day. I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow.
Like, February 14th is their anniversary.
That's never been my situation. So
then of course you're going to
going to go big if it's the anniversary and Valentine's Day. Like you can't go small in that case. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would say I'm like somewhere in the middle. Like I would like to acknowledge the day. Totally. Like I don't want to just like sweep it under the rug like any other day, but I don't need like a dinner reservation.
Right.
I don't want to be in the chaos of Valentine's Day.
Honestly, same. Literally, my idea of going to a crowded restaurant jam-packed with other couples on Valentine's Day is actually kind of my nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing fun about that.
I've done it once in a little bit of a late bloomer. So, like, I didn't have my first, like, true Valentine's until I was in my 20s. Yeah. And so, like, and he knew that. So, he wanted to kind of, like, make it a whole thing.
Make it a whole big thing. That's very sweet. Yeah. We appreciate the effort.
Yeah. So we all got all dressed up. We did the dinner reservation. It was at like some Brazilian steakhouse, and they had their like Valentine's Day multi-course special.
Love that.
Where you had like your appetizer, your main course, dessert, the whole thing. So honestly, it was like,
I will say I love those situations.
So it was very cliche, textbook, awesome, just like Valentine's Day celebration. Did some like cheesy reasons why I love you gift or whatever. Classic. You know, like super cute, super adorable. And so like I'm glad to have done
Experience that.
Yeah. But I wouldn't feel the pressure, the need. Like I'd be happy with like Chinese takeout.
Honestly.
And like, but it would have to feel intentional. It can't just feel like
it can't feel
random
or
just like any other night we would be getting
intentionality
takeout.
Is everything in relationships.
Yeah, so. Like maybe you put my fortune cookies in like a little heart shape or something. And
you know, literally like the most minimal of effort, guys. Yeah. Like it's not like we don't need as much. Like you know,
or maybe you splurge and you get 2 spring rolls, right? Instead of you know,
you get just some extra fortune cookies to take
or
home.
Like this is like one of our favorite movies that we like love watching together, and so we decide to like watch that, or like or something that has some like little sentimental. Yeah. Something or other behind it where you're still acknowledging it. Maybe you get some flowers or whatever.
Honestly, I think that's one of the biggest things is just like the acknowledgement of like, I'm here for you. Like that's kind of my thing is like, if I don't get flowers, I'll be sad.
So flowers are a requirement.
The flowers are kind of a requirement for me. Yeah. I would never like tell a guy that, but if I didn't get flowers,
Logan, if you're listening, take notes.
I'm
just kidding. They're married. They're way past
We're well past it. Yeah, but that is and
he does always get you flowers for Valentine's Day.
He's very very good. But that's an important thing for me. Yeah, I grew up with an amazing dad who would pretty much every holiday I woke up 2 flowers for my mom on the counter. And I'm talking.
This is your role model. It set the bar. This is your expectation. So like you want the same like, in return.
I'm talking Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, freaking Easter. Like my dad would always do flowers on major holidays. And
so then as a kid, you're like, flowers equal love.
Yeah. And you know, and my dad shows love in all the other amazing ways.
Of course.
But that was just one that I grew up being like, I want flowers, you know? So for me, that's important.
Do you want the box of chocolates?
I don't care about it.
Do you want the teddy bear?
No, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't even need a gift. We don't even really do gifts on Valentine's Day much. It's more of just the flowers. And then, so in years past, Logan and I have always picked up not takeout, but there's a place near us that does like pasta specials.
Yes, I remember
and
this.
it's all like hand pulled pasta, and it's like prepped and ready to go.
But you get to make it like it's like a meal prep kit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's like a pasta meal prep kit, and it's all fresh, like hand rolled pasta, like really good stuff. And then we'll go and pick up steaks and then make it at home. Yeah, which I so much rather prefer than like a busy, crowded restaurant.
Yeah. So it's still like an intimate. Yeah. You're building memories.
We're doing something together.
Yeah, yeah, and it still feels special because that's outside of your norm. Yeah.
Honestly, we've only ever done that on Valentine's Day, which is what makes it kind of special.
Is it a tradition now?
Well, it was. But now that we're married, I don't know, because so for anyone who doesn't know, our wedding was obviously in October, but actually last February, right around Valentine's Day, we did go and get married at the courthouse.
Yeah, so the ceremony was October. You guys have been married.
We've been legally married. We've been legally on paper married since last February.
Right.
And so because we did that, we strategically picked a day for the courthouse ceremony to be like right around Valentine's Day. So every year we'll celebrate what is going to be like our mini anniversary, basically. Yeah. So I don't know what we're doing this year, actually, because of that. Because
this is uncharted.
It's new
waters.
Yeah, it's like technically our first like legal anniversary.
Wait. We got to take a step back then. That means you've been married for a year.
Pretty much, on paper. But the really funny thing is we got married and we weren't even living together. So like it doesn't feel like we've been married a year.
Okay, I was going to say like, do you feel like the weight of like 1 year under your belt or anything?
I think we'll feel that on the date of the anniversary of the big wedding.
The ceremony and stuff.
The real, like what we call the real wedding.
The party.
Yeah, the big party. So I think we'll feel that around then. But it's just weird because we moved in together a few months after the legal ceremony. We just did everything really weird, guys. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
I just wasn't sure because like
I know.
I'm a very like sentimental. Like
Same.
I put a lot of weight on dates.
Oh, same.
Like specific number of dates and stuff.
And I am too. I'm big on that, which is why we strategically were like, we'll do the courthouse right around. I think it was like a couple days before Valentine's.
Yeah, because I know you guys were toying with the idea of January.
Yes.
And then you're like, no, we're going to do
it in February.
Yeah.
And I really wanted it to be on actual Valentine's Day because then it would be like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But my husband couldn't get off work that day. It was a whole thing.
Logistics.
Whatever. Yeah. And so, but yeah, so I think we'll do something for sure. Like, I just don't know if we'll do it.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. So it's just different this year. We'll probably still do our pasta thing. I think at least like, the week of Valentine's Day or something, but we'll see.
Cool.
We'll see. TBD.
Yeah. No, I don't have any ill feelings towards Valentine's Day. And honestly, my favorite is the day after Valentine's Day because then all the candy goes on sale.
Yeah. You are the sweets queen. We know it.
I very much look forward to but you can't wait too long. If you wait until like the 16th or the 17th, you're slim pickings.
They're all gone. Yeah, it's all gone.
So you got to go right on the 15th.
Go get your candy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, happy Valentine's Day, guys, for anyone listening. But we're going to wrap it up with just a little more reptile content because that's what we're here for. That's what you're here for. So I recently did a post on Instagram on my Neptune account, and I posed the question, what is your dream species? Yeah. Because people have asked us what our dream species is.
Our wish list species.
Yeah, and always happy to share that. But I think it's fun to kind of hear from other people. Yeah. Because, either you like that or you get ideas.
It's crazy how long we've been in the hobby, but there are pretty much every week species that I hear
Something
of
new.
that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always cool because I feel like when I ask those questions or when you ask those questions, sometimes like I'll hear of something that I've never heard of, which is super cool.
So we're gonna do like a speed round, like yes or no.
Would you keep it?
Would you ever keep this? And you guys can play along. And if you don't know what these are, Look them up, see what they are. But the first one, literally the very first response I got on my story was a Komodo dragon. And I was like, wow, starting out big. So that for me is a hard no.
Oh, no, that's a big yes for me if I had the space for it, which
really?
9 times out of 10 I wouldn't. Oh, are you kidding? Komodo dragon? In my backyard? Dream.
Nightmare. Have you seen the talons on those guys?
No, they're incredible.
No. Okay, there you go. First round.
Yes,
you said yes. I said no. Okay. Next is a Brazilian or a Colombian rainbow boa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, I would say if I were to keep a snake, right? A little asterisk. A Brazilian rainbow boa.
Those have always been your favorite.
Would be on the potential list.
I think you've told me more than 3 times that if you were to ever have a snake, it would be a Brazilian rainbow boa.
Yeah, and I didn't know there was a Colombian rainbow boa until this, and someone put that as a response.
I have some friends that have the Colombians, and they're really, really cool. They still have that rainbow sheen,
but it's not as much pop as they're just more subtle.
Yeah, they don't have the intensity of the spots or the kind of orangey color.
Yeah, the auburn, amber kind of color. And they don't seem as commonly kept as
they're not
Brazilians.
Yeah, the Brazilians are way more common.
Okay, so you say yes.
I say yes.
I say yes with a little asterisk if I keep snakes.
I would prefer a Brazilian rainbow boa, but I would keep a Colombian too. I think they're super cool. Yeah.
All right, next we've got a red tegu.
Oh, absolutely. That's at the top of my list.
I know.
That's at the top of my list. So specifically a male, ideally, because I want the jowls.
I don't like
You
those.
don't like the jowls.
No.
Why do you not love the chubby cheeks? They're so freaking cute.
They might grow on me. Okay, because I wasn't a fan of the fat
leopard
tail.
gecko tails.
Yes, exactly. The fat tails of the geckos. And those I have grown on me, and I think they're cute now. So maybe if you had one, then I would like it. But someone put tegu, and then someone saw that, and they went red tegu. So specific. And you want specifically.
I specifically would want a red tegu. Male tegu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for anything that has red hair.
It's
fair. Not hair, but
this is fair.
It's red.
So yes, absolutely. And in fact, that is on my
it's on your actual list.
Yeah, it's on my list.
It's a no for me on the red tegus. Oh wait, emerald tree boa. No for me.
Hard no.
Yeah.
Have you seen the teeth on those things?
I think they're so stunning.
Oh, they're incredible. It's one of the most beautiful
I will stare
species.
at one all day, especially an adult when they're full green, all day.
Mm-hmm. No, me too. I mean, they're beautiful, beautiful creatures.
Would I ever own?
No,
absolutely
thank
not.
you. Mm-mm. Honestly, for me, it's pretty much any overly arboreal snake. They're very they tend to be pretty testy. Yeah. So
they look cool, but
super cool.
You stay over there. I stay over here.
Not my thing. Not my thing.
Okay, a day gecko.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're so
we
freaking
had
cute.
to include this because of our very first episode. We talk about the day gecko. So I would own a day gecko.
I absolutely would.
A blue day gecko. I think are really pretty.
The blue ones are crazy. There's so many different. I don't know if this is the right word because I don't keep them currently. But there's so many different subspecies or locales or different colorations.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what the terminology is.
I'm not either. So caveat. Don't know,
the blue day geckos are super cool. I would just be nervous because those are quick.
They're so
quick little boogers.
Fast.
So I would be nervous to get them out of whatever shipping container they came in, putting them into their enclosure. But then opening their enclosure, I already get nervous with my crested gecko.
I was going to say,
he's escaped.
Yes, my New Caledonian geckos are real fast too.
Yeah, so that would be but would I own one? Absolutely. Yeah,
they're so cool,
questions.
and you can create because they're not micro geckos. A lot of the species, depending on the species, are bigger and stuff like that. But you can make the coolest bioactive enclosures for them. I would love that.
Yeah, I would definitely own one. Okay, someone put in here a Parson's chameleon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure would own
100%. Love Parsons. They're gorgeous. And you have one.
Yeah, so Luna is a Christopher Parsons chameleon, so it's a smaller subspecies. Yeah. So she's bigger than your average panther chameleon, but she's not
one of those
true giant
Parsons.
Yeah, the orange eye
or the yellow
lip giant Parsons. Those have insane space requirements. So I could see myself when I and maybe wanted to slow down on reptiles, still keep them, but not as many, then I would just get one Parsons and just deck it out some insane
go
beautiful
really ham on it.
just one really big enclosure and then just keep it at that.
Would be, I get that. That's like your retirement chameleon.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. It's my retirement plan.
Now, I want to ask you guys, what is your retirement species?
Yeah.
When you have all the time in the world, you're retired, you're not working, your kids are gone, whatever the situation may be, what species would you keep? That's a great question.
Yeah, like Parsons would be up there for
mine
me.
would totally be the tegu for sure.
Yeah. That'd be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up we have an earless monitor lizard.
Oh, wait, the Borneo?
Yes.
Those are freaking cool. Yes, I would love to have one.
I had to Google it. I didn't know what it looked like.
Oh, I'm obsessed with those.
They're cool looking though.
So freaking cool. They're so hard to find because I could be wrong. I'm definitely not an expert on this species, but I'm pretty sure they're one that is like either not captive bred or very, very, very
Do you know
rarely
where they
captive
originate?
bred.
Like where they're from?
Is it Borneo? Is that?
Oh, is that the place?
I don't know.
I
I could be wrong. I don't know.
I have no idea.
If it's not Borneo, does Borneo exist?
I'll go back to
a
Google.
Country? I don't even know if Borneo is a country.
We'll go back to Google. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it.
But they're so freaking cool. They're just not. They're not very commonly kept. I'm pretty sure they're also like very hard to keep. They
have a very round nose, especially for a monitor.
And I'm pretty positive that they're either aquatic or semi-aquatic.
Ooh.
So they're very they require.
No, I just went to Google images. I didn't look up their care.
No, they. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure they need like very high humidity.
Okay.
They almost always need like a water feature or something to swim in. I really hope I'm not wrong. I could be totally wrong.
That's fine.
But.
Yeah, I know they're really hard to come by, which is why you haven't really.
They're literally not on my list.
Yeah.
They're not on my list simply because I don't think that I would ever be in a situation
to have one.
But if somebody is ever going to be like, "Hey, I've got a earless monitor lizard," I'd be like, hand him over. Like I would take one of those in a heartbeat.
It cracked me up when it said earless, as if like. The alternative would have been that it has ears?
I think it's that they're like snakes where they don't have the external ears. Like they don't have the ear holes.
Okay, because like it's not like monitors in general have like ears sticking out,
right.
like ears that we're used to.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I think that's implied.
I think all lizards are technically kind of earless. In terms of like our ears, human ears.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was kind of funny.
I think that I could be wrong. I don't know much on this species, but I'm pretty sure that it's because they're snake-like where they don't have the external ears.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I probably would have left that out of the name though.
Yeah, which chameleons are also that way where they don't have the external ears. So
yeah, but I wouldn't have called it an earless chameleon. No, like it just is implied that it doesn't.
I know.
It's not a distinguishing characteristic.
So funny.
Okay, I've got two more. Next up is a carpet chameleon or jewel chameleon.
Ooh. I think I would keep them, but am I correct in the fact that their lifespan is really
It's shorter. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's closer to like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Given that, I probably wouldn't.
They're on my list of species I would love to own because they're petite. Their colors are insane. Gorgeous. You can also do super sick bioactive enclosures with them. But my only hesitation has been the lifespan. Yeah.
I just taking on such a short lifespan.
But I'm like 90% confident I'll have a carpet. I know I'll have a carpet before I'll have a Mellors just from like availability. Like carpets are pretty regularly. There's not a ton of breeders, but they're out there. So
they exist.
Yeah. You can definitely get one if you want one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love those little guys.
Very last one, red-eye crocodile skink.
Oh, absolutely. I love those things.
I am so naive to their care, but if we're going just off of looks alone, I would totally own one. I have no idea what their enclosures require. Or anything. I don't know if I could within reason keep one, but
I think you could. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correctly, I think you could keep one or two. They're a species that actually does do decently well in a pair. And I think I would probably do a 4-foot enclosure for two of them.
Okay.
And by my standards, but I think I've heard of people keeping duos or trios in like a 3-foot or something like that. But they're also a very, very high humidity species. Lots of moisture, lots of fog, lots of moss, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
But they're so freaking cool. They just look like tiny dinosaurs.
Yes.
Tiny
they're
little
very
dragons
cool.
without wings.
They give me very much like Toothless.
100%.
From How to Train Your Dragon vibes. Like I think his eyes are green. If they had made him, which I realized would have made him like probably like a little freaky to like for a kid's movie, but if they had made him with like the red eye look,
so
like
cool.
they are like little mini,
so cool,
toothless.
I would absolutely have a little duo or a trio of those guys for sure.
I would as well. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, but I thought that was kind of fun. Like they weren't necessarily our dream species, but they were from you guys, and then we can kind of weigh in on like whether or not we would consider keeping them at some point.
I love talking about just all the different species. That's my favorite thing. Yeah, my fave. Cool. Well, I think is that it for today?
I'm calling it. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening once again. And
of course, yeah.
Just a little reminder, we do have Patreon and subscriptions available.
Yes, for early
on
access
Spotify.
to episodes. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or any of the other podcast listening places.
Follow us on all the social medias. So at the Wild Type Podcast everywhere.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you all, and we'll talk to you next week, girlies.
See ya.